Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah. Man.
I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We've said for a while that we might need to rename it, and that new name may be AD Drew. But with that being said, Mike is on assignment, Charles is here, and boy, y'all better be glad I'm here because life be life. And thanks, Charles. Shout out Charles that always finds a way to come through in so many different ways. Get a chance, might talk about it a little more, but more important, it's time to talk about some HBCU sports. And with that being said, as we do what we do, welcome to episode 793. Welcome to episode 793 of Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, the radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host today, which is none other than Charles Bishop and AD Drew. Sending love and shout out to Mike Washington as he is doing his assignment on the business side. As they just executive folks, boy, they call you all the time. I can relate a little bit, but I get it. We're filming from our home studios, or maybe not. I'm here in Columbia, South Carolina for the CSRI conference. That's the College Sports Research Institute. Charles was down here a couple of years ago with me, with Billy Rosenberg, to present some research. I have to see if we can get him back, giving a shout out to his project that he's finishing up in terms of his dissertation work, as well as see if we can get Dr. Deshaun Dixon. He says he wants to present here too. So we'll see if we can work on this next year. But doing my thing, but more important, in terms of HBCU sports, we have an HBCU team that is still playing in the postseason. We have a couple on the D2 side, Black College Invitational Classic, but we also have one particularly that's on the NAIA side, and they are playing for a national championship. The Langston Lions will do that as they won their semifinal game last night. Fab Four comeback performance. I think they've come back at least in the last three games they've played in terms of that 16 field. It goes to Kansas City. Well, it's paid off for them because they're back in the championship. That is twice in 3 years for the Langston Lions. For the head coach, that's 3 times in 5 years. So I think that is certainly what we'll discuss a little bit today. Didn't want to bury the headlines, but let's bring in Charles and AD Drew to get their thoughts on that, and then we'll see what else they want to go into, some other news of the day. As we get closer to closing out on basketball and giving you a little bit of what you need to know in terms of baseball and softball, outdoor track and field, I should say, as we're coming on those championships and we're closing up this athletic year. But Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of Langston as they'll play for an NAIA championship?
I mean, it's another historic run from Langston. So you give them all sorts of credit. And like you said, I mean, in terms of knocking off one of the top teams in the nation, this has been a tremendous run for the Langston Lions. So, I mean, you got to put your Langston gear on tonight to see if they can get this championship.
Yeah. L's up, as they like to say in them parts. AD Drew is showing appropriately, giving you a demonstration to make sure that L's up. Let me go to you, Drew. What are your thoughts? Didn't want to bury the headlines. Anytime you get a chance to play for a national championship, that's pretty big. This time it's the Langston Lions in men's basketball on the NAIA side of things. Where are you with this matchup?
Man, before I get into this matchup, let's talk about the fact that those glass slippers have fit perfectly on both feet because the way they won the last two of the last three ball games. I mean, the first ball game, I believe that was the 16 game where they had a defensive lapse at the buzzer, and unfortunately for Langston, the kid missed a wide open shot. The other opponent could not have asked for a better shot in that situation, and they just missed it. And then last night, a half second more on the clock, and we will be talking about how Langston is dealing with heartbreak because it's that close as the red light went off with the ball still in his hand, and I don't know how he even hit that 3-pointer at that point in time. So shout out to the Langston Lions, and also Dr. Cavil. You forgot about one other team that's currently playing right now, and that is the Maryland Eastern Shore women's version against Youngstown State, and they trailed by a score of 22-15 with under 2 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Good catch on the Division I side. I did update the poll rankings based on their win, and you all said that last week to watch out for Maryland Eastern Shore. Specifically, AD Drew said that, and they end up getting a WNIT win, so that will affect. So catch us on Thursday in terms of that update poll rankings, and we'll see in terms of what they do today. Wade, good job there, Drew, not to bury the Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks in terms of what the women's team does. But for those in terms of Langston, they play tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's in a rematch of the 2024 title matchup that we just slipped away from Langston in that game. Freed Hardman, which won title in 2024, 71-67 in advance of this matchup tonight. So it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like in terms of where it is. And Emmett is joining in and giving some updates in terms of Freeman Hardman, where they are. Jackson, Tennessee, which is looking at their website, has a few players from Memphis and Jackson, which makes sense in terms of making sure they get some folks that are close at home. Be fascinating to see what this looks like. And as you said, Langston has chopped off a couple of top-ranked teams in terms of the poll rankings over the last couple of games. The last one they had last night went into overtime to get it done. So fascinating when you talk about the Langston Lions, and certainly will have my eye on that matchup. Trying to see where the game is. I know the previous games have been on HBCU Plus, League Pass, in terms of what's going on. Usually the championship game.
It's on UEN.
TV. Where is it?
UEN.
UEN, so it's on there as well. Good.
I didn't. I could check and see. I doubt if it's on the ESPN app. I could look and see, but I did not see it when I went through my listings earlier.
I know they had the entire tournament, so they probably got the full rights with the championship, so they're holding on to that tight. Which this is the type of reason why you go on these deals, because they should get a lot of folks with interest following championships. And even more so with HBCU fans in terms of how they collectively root on that interest when it comes up.
With speaking of ESPN,
we switch. Go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of ESPN, the Maryland Eastern Shore game is available on ESPN Plus. So if you want to flip that on and turn it down while you finish listening to us on this podcast for the next hour, we invite you to do so.
Oh, no doubt. Charles, what else is on your mind?
Yeah, let's take a look at let's give some kudos to Alabama A&M as they claimed the SWAC women's bowling tournament title. As Alabama A&M University's women bowling team stunned top-ranked Jackson State in the elimination bracket, then rolled past Alabama State 4-1 in the championship to win the program's fourth SWAC Conference Bowling tournament title. The tournament title marked the first time since 2014 that Alabama A&M claimed the crown, and the fourth time in school history. So kudos to Alabama A&M for winning the bowling championship.
It doesn't get much better than that when you have an upset over Jackson State to get it done, and then you beat your rival for a championship. Yeah, that's when you check off the box.
Yeah, check the box on that one. Exactly.
Good stuff, Charles. AD Drew, what direction are you going in next?
Let me see if I can find where I wanted to go with this. I just want to kind of get into baseball this weekend. What about the start that Bethune-Cookman has had in SWAC baseball this particular weekend? I mean, oh my God, fellas. They have, I just lost the graphic where I had the scores, but they undefeated thus far
6-0
in the conference. So and how about your institution where you work at, Dr. Cavil, coming in right behind them? Texas Southern and Grambling sitting at 5-1 record, and Prairie View decided they wanted to get into the baseball business and pick up a win this weekend. Appreciate that, Prairie View, because everybody's trying to see if you guys could get the trifecta. You already got the daily double. We're trying to see if you guys can get the trifecta.
Oh, they started off so hot. They were 9-0, shutting down Jackson on Friday. Not only did that happen, you had FAMU playing the East-West, or former East-West. I know they're all aligned, so let me make sure I get that out there. As well as Alabama State. So, I was up there, first one jumped out there. I said, oh, man, the former West is jumping up on the East. Y'all said interesting. And the rest of them were the bottom team. So you had those, and they went on to either sweep or take 2 out of 3. You're talking about Texas Southern and some of these matchups.
Yeah. But
I watched those couple of those games because they were on SWAC TV. All 3 of those top matchups, SWAC TV is just, man, glutton for punishment. They had the Prairie View Jackson State game. They had the Alabama State matchup with Southern, and you had FAMU taking it on in terms of their matchup there with Pine Bluff. And so they jumped out there. I said, Charles, the former West, look at. I got quiet on Saturday. No, I didn't get too quiet. I posted back out there. I said 1-1. On Sunday, I got really quiet. Quiet as a mouse, as we like to say, because it didn't work out. Yeah. The Saturday game with Jackson State was fascinating because all 3 teams actually came from behind.
Yeah.
In the second matchup to win that. And not only did they gain the momentum, but it was enough momentum on Sunday where they really put belt to tail. Because those games on Sunday wasn't even close. Maybe that Pine Bluff game was a little close until late in the matchup. But that was fascinating with all of them taking 2 or 3. So East said Cavil not so fast in terms of those matchups. Only team, but you still have Texas Southern and Grambling. And Charles, you saw Texas Southern. So I want you to talk a little bit about what they're bringing to the table. We'll talk in the last part of the show about matchups to come this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look at Texas Southern, they beat the cover off the ball. You take a look at, I think they have at least 3 of the top 5 hitters in the SWAC overall. Miguel Morales is one of the top hitters in the nation. But they've jumped on pitching. Jackson State, that first series, and then this past series against Mississippi Valley. But you have Miguel Morales batting .453. You have Zach Pace, who leads off for Texas Southern. He's batting .388. Jonathan Trejo, .383. Byron Robinson, you're going to hear his name quite a bit. He's batting .379, but he's a power hitter in this lineup. So 1 through 6, this Texas Southern, baseball team, they really knocked the cover off the ball. So they're going to be kind of an interesting team to watch. And, as with everybody, do you have the arms? So they got a great pitcher performance on Friday, and this past Sunday. Justin Mays, I should say, had a really good outing for them against Mississippi Valley. But it's going to be a really good series this upcoming weekend here in Houston as Grambling comes into Houston to take on Texas Southern this upcoming weekend.
Good stuff. Yeah, all three of them, as I said, that come from behind, including Jackson State's fabulous 2 RBI single walk off to win that game. Eddie Drew, I know you wanted to make a last statement before we take our first break. Come back to the other side and do a mid-major women's update.
I just need everybody to look now at the other HBCU conference that plays baseball and the SIAC and look at a team that's near the top that you haven't seen in a long time, and that being the Morehouse Maroon Tigers.
Oh, yeah.
Who sit one game. They're in third place, and they sit one game behind Spring Hill, 1/2 game behind Albany State. But here was the thing. Coming into this past weekend, Miles was ahead of them in the standings. And Miles came in 3rd in the standings. Morehouse came in 7th in the standings. Number 7, Morehouse promptly decided to put B to A to Miles and won all 3 games of the weekend series by 10 runs or more.
That's impressive. Brought out the broom. Go ahead, Charles.
No, it's very interesting in terms of, Morehouse making that leap in baseball, but with all those baseball players in and around the Atlanta area, and we see them all through the SWAC. I'm often curious as to Morehouse and Clark in terms of can they get some of that, outlying talent, especially in and around Atlanta.
I'll give you a couple of reasons why that talent tends to leave those 2 particular institutions. Number 1 is purely academics.
Sure.
Because of the academic requirements of both institutions. Obviously, Morehouse's reputation academically, but don't sleep on Clark Atlanta and think Clark Atlanta is just anybody could get in liberal arts institution. Clark Atlanta's academics are right there behind Morehouse's, where you may need a 3.3 to get into a Morehouse. You need about a 3.1 to get into a Clark Atlanta. I mean, they do have high academic standards. Number 1, unfortunately, which makes the Morehouse run even more amazing this year, they don't have the scholarship allotment that a lot of institutions have. So if I'm a mid to upper tier player and I can get money to go somewhere else and play versus having to pay to go to Morehouse, and let's be real, most baseball players know they have to pay for school because you don't get a full scholarship in baseball.
Right.
So I could get a half to a quarter scholarship from XYZ state university. And that scholarship may be worth $5,000, and mom and daddy only have to come up with $7,000 to finish off paying for my education. Or you can get $5,000 for Morehouse and still have to go out and take a second mortgage to pay for your education. So the same $5,000 scholarship, but because of the cost of the institution, it makes it that much more challenging when you have a sport like baseball that already does not give out full scholarships. So, those are the things. So you have to get a lot of kids, both at Clark Atlanta and Morehouse, who can qualify for academic money, and then you might supplement a couple of baseball, but you really need to save that baseball money for those kids who are the greatest financial need and divvy it up with them. So you have to rely on other ways of packaging money together to go to institutions such as a Morehouse or Clark Atlanta. Henceforth, why you see a lot of that talent at a Jackson State, at a Southern, at a Grambling, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, who are from the Atlanta area. It's not that they didn't want to play there, just circumstances prevented it.
Or even down to Albany State that has a really good program as well.
And Savannah
State. So you're a great point. Let's take our first break, come back on the other side, talk a little bit of mid-major, because, we always like to make sure people understand the business of sports, particularly the business of HBCU sports. So thank you, Charles, for your question to make sure we got into that analysis And 80 Drew for your response perfectly. Let's take a first break. Come back on the other side. Get back into it.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's get back into it as we said and move into these women mid-major poll rankings. This one we dust off and go through pretty quick. Not a lot of changes here. Just a little more maybe on the men's side. There's a little surprise there as we get into it. But let's jump and see what is going on the women's side. There's no team dropped out, as I alluded to. This is week 12. What about those receiving votes? Any changes there in terms of those receiving votes? Let's see about that. What that looks like.
Am I on the men's again?
We have
That's all up,
Virginia
Dr.
State
Bill. I'm on the men's. Hold up. All right. Go back to receiving votes. Nobody did drop out the women's. I was on the wrong one.
Yeah. Same thing there, except for different names receiving votes. No problem. Lane Lady Dragons. As you see, they closed out the season with over 20 wins. Bowie State Bulldogs did not get to the 20-win mark, but they had a winning record, 19-8. Oakwood Lady Ambassadors at the NAIA level out of the HBCU also closed the season with the winning record, 16-8. Wally Lady Wildcats, 13-7 in terms of what they did with their record. And closing out those receiving votes is another team out of Texas, the Paul Quinn Lady Tigers, 14-10. Those last three teams all in the NAIA level out of the HBCU. Let's look in the top 5 as we move forward. Number 5, Edgewater Lady Tigers. They stay at that 5 spot as things start to close out, 23-6, 21-3. We'll have our final poll ranking next week. We'll see, does all this stand? Bringing us to number 4. And Langston Lady Lions, unlike we see at the Division I level, as Drew talked about as we open things off, all of these seasons are closed. Lady Langston Lions had a really impressive season, 24-6, 18-4. They did make the NAIA tournament, but their season has come to an end. At number 3, we have none other than the Fayetteville State Lady Broncos, 21-6, 13-3, 54 points. They 3-3 spot at number 2. We have our team coming out of the SIAC as Fayetteville State showing out for the CIAA. The Golden Bears, 25-6. Impressive as they close out the season. 20 of those wins were in conference play. They have 72 points and remain at the 2 spot. And number 1 ranking as the Winston-Salem State Lady Rams had a fascinating season, 28-4. Came to a tough end as they hold all 10 first-place votes, 100 points cleanly there. I guess, Charles, the question I'll ask you in terms of the top 5, do you see anything changing going into the final poll ranking for week number 13?
Not at all. I do not. I mean, 24-6 is impressive with the Langston Lady Lions, 18-4 in conference play. I mean, that would move the needle a little bit for me, but I think you're pretty straight up with this top five here.
Drew, same question going into the final week. Final poll rankings will come out next week. Do you see any changes in terms of the poll ranking, or do you see everything holding steady? Regardless, do you have any challenges of what you see here?
Doc, I'm usually the one on this podcast that you have always been able to count on to come up with some type of angle to put a hole into it. Whether I believe it or not, I can usually come up with some type of contrary argument. Except for today, Dr. Cavil, I can't find anything, even if I wanted to try to poke a hole in this top five. I really can't find a way to poke a hole in this top five. I'm gonna give you one just for conversation purposes. Nah, I can't even do it.
I was about to say
I can't even do it. I almost had one, but I mean, Winston-Salem, regular season champ, tournament champions. Miles, division champion, tournament champion. Fayetteville State, runner-up to the conference division champion and runner-up in the tournament. Langston, regular season championship. Edward Waters, regular season division championship. I can't, Doc. I can't. I want to. I can't. There's nothing there.
Yeah, good stuff. Really a tremendous season when you look at this top five. One thing to look at is 4 out of 5 are NCAA Division II. You do have the long NAIA program with Langston Lady Lions finding a way to jump in that top 5, which is always intriguing as we look at through the season. How does that float between the NAIA and NCAA Division II? At this point, we see the Division II really control the top 5 poll rankings. Yeah. You do have some representation for the NAIA when you go to essentially the top 10, those last 5 receiving votes. But even the first couple of teams out are representing Division II in your final 3 NAIA. So overall, you're talking about 6 Division II programs and 4 NAIA when you look at 10 programs. With that being said, let's take our next break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll do the same this time for the men's side of things. We talked about last week going into how much would Langston have to do. Many said, just give me one more. Holy cow, they gave us 2, including getting into a championship game. That game last night did not count in these standings, and we'll see if it did anything because they did get the win that many people said that it would cause them to change their vote. Stick with us so we can see what that looks like on the mid-major poll, closing down the stretch, getting it done in the tournament. How does it look at stuff? We will get our Black College Invitational Championship in this weekend. So next week we'll have that final poll. We'll see how that shakes things out based on a championship game tonight and one this weekend as well. We'll be right back on the other side.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
Well, I teased it out a bunch. Let's just jump back into this and see what this top 5 look like. Before we do that, let's get into the teams dropping out.
Before you do that, enter the second half. Maryland Eastern Shore trails 24-17. As we get about to tip off the third
Come
quarter.
on, Hawks, let's go. We need
right.
one of those Langston lines. Put your L's up, rally for the Hawks this second half in the third and fourth quarter. Dropping out this on the mid-major, though. No team dropped out, so it's the top 5. We know what they look like. The suspension is where are they going to fall, particularly at the top of the poll. Receiving votes, though, Virginia State Trojans. They will play in their Black College Invitational Championship as the home team. We'll see if that works in their favor. They do have 20 wins, 20-10, as they continue to see where they get in this final season, final 2 part of this season. Black Atlanta Panthers sit at 21-8 as they are playing as well. Miles Golden Bears 20-8 overall record, and Stillman Tigers 18-9. Tougaloo Bulldogs sit at 17-8, 10-2. The last 2 there are NAIA programs. So similar to what we see on the women, we got a couple of those teams, 3 on the women's side, NAIA, and 2 on this side, as Division II are deep here. But let's see what that looks like in terms of the top 5. Number 5, Tuskegee Golden Tigers sit at 22-8, 19-5, 37-5. Really a great season as they come out and win their division championship, play for a SIC tournament championship. Fascinating season for the Golden Tigers. Bringing us to number 4 on the list here. Morehouse Maroon Tigers, talking about a great season.
Yeah.
They finished in terms of division championship. They also won a tournament championship and got in the players. They sit at 22-10, 17-5.
19.
19.
19-5.
I always didn't do the update in terms of forget all those extra games that you see playing in there. So the same record you see for the Golden Tigers should be the same record for the Maroon Tigers. 45 points for in terms of conference race. To say that. They remain in that 4th spot. Not any changes here so far. Moving us to number 3. Number 3, staying with the NCAA Division II programs, Virginia Union Panthers. Fascinating season. 25-6, 13-3, 58 points, and they stay in the 3 spot as they did what they needed to do to close out strong out of the CIAA. At number 2, we have Fayetteville State Broncos, 23-7, 14-2. 4 first place votes. They were number 1. They did lose some first place votes, 68 points. So previously, Langston was number 2. So as you can see now, they did jump them. That was before the final poll rankings, closing out the season. And Langston is added a win to the total you'll see here. Langston is number 1, and they pick up 6 first place votes. They are now 29-7. Boy, you talking about that magic 30 wins. How big would it be? 17-5. first place votes. So they add 2 votes coming from Virginia Union, and they take away some votes from Fayetteville State Broncos, and they end up with 6 first place votes, 76. 2. I would think they would hold on to that, but I guess you could have some voters change depending on how they play in the championship game. I don't know much there, but let me go to you first, Drew, to open up things. Top 5. The obvious discussion of the day here is the fact that Langston Lions jump Fayetteville State. So I got to ask you, do you agree with the jump, or are you staying with the Broncos and saying not so fast?
Fayetteville State lost in what round of their level of the tournament?
That second round, they got a opening first round win, had a tough, close loss. We'll say that, but it was a loss in the NCAA Division II playoffs.
All right.
Relatively early, didn't go that deep. When you think about at least getting to the 16, for most is how you kind of measure it at that level, particularly that state.
And Langston lost in what round of their national tournament? Oh, that's right. They hadn't lost yet. I asked the question. I have no problem, and I needed one more to solidify it. I was already leaning Langston, but I needed one more to solidify it, to justify it to everybody else. I had it in my mind. I needed more evidence. Well, not only did they give me more evidence, but they turned in the extra paper and did some extra credit work by getting to this championship game tonight. So I'm good with that. Can't argue the regular season Union had, just because of how the CIAA counts their games. They didn't win the division title, even though they had a much more superior record than Virginia State, but they didn't take care of business in division. But I can't argue with Union's record, especially because Union picked up a win in the tournament also.
Correct.
Morehouse, great regular season, win streak of 10 games, win streak of 8 games in the season. Kind of hard to argue when you put those kind of streaks together. Tuskegee, love my old school. Unfortunately, you ran up against my new school in the conference championship game. And the other thing, Dr. Cavil, as I turn it over to Charles, Doc, we got 3 20-win teams sitting outside of this post.
I was about to say
that is amazing.
Impressive.
That just goes to show you the level of basketball that these teams are doing, and the great job that their various coaches are doing with them.
I'm glad you pointed out. Great point there when you talk about those 20-plus win season. It goes 8 deep. Charles, what are your thoughts?
I don't have an issue with the top 5. I guess my question becomes NAIA versus Division II. I mean, where are we with regards to Langston's run to the national championship on the NAIA level versus where the competition sits at the Division II level?
I'll take that one for 400, Alex.
Okay, that's what I was waiting on.
Let's be real. There's a lot of those NAIA teams who can come out and beat some of our SWAC teams. A lot of our SWAC teams come out and beat a lot of our BAC teams. Competition level is usually not the problem. It's used, and a lot of these NAIA teams probably have better resources and facilities that some of our Division II teams have on their particular campuses.
Mm-hmm.
So, the biggest difference between NAIA and D2, because I've worked at both levels of institutions, obviously the academic standards are a little bit more relaxed on the NAIA level versus the NCAA level, so that you can get in a student who might be a marginal student, but who was a hell of a ball player. I'm not getting him at Morehouse. I'm not getting that player at Tuskegee. You're not getting that player at Clark Atlanta. But you could get him at a Tougaloo or one of those. We're not talking about Xavier, who has just as high of academic standards as some of those other schools that I've mentioned. So that's one thing that helps and there's not as many restrictions as far as recruiting and everything else. So, I will say this as a Division II institution, when we look to play those NAIA institutions, we pay attention to who we playing. We that's not gonna go out and play any NAIA. We not, you will never see Langston come to Forbes Arena to play. I will put that one on wax.
Mm-hmm.
Not by our phone call.
Yeah, not intentionally.
Not intentionally.
I like that. It would have to be set up in one of those unique tournaments. And the challenge you have, unlike what you saw in baseball when we had the championship where you could face off NCAA Division II NAIA, which I love that format because it gave you a little indication. Essentially, you only had those two leagues that played baseball because CIAA doesn't. CIAA plays basketball, so more often in your non-conference games, if you're going to get those matchups, you're going to do it versus the Division II program that you have some rivalries with and also can support you more in terms of where you are with the regional rankings. So if somebody's out there able to do it, it sure would be nice maybe to find some nice NCAA Division II NAIA tournaments. But you're right, it's a little more challenging, particularly when you're talking about preseason versus the postseason. You have so many teams that play for championships to doing a postseason, unlike what we've seen in baseball, where they allow it. You don't get that in basketball. So great breakdown again, AD Drew. Good question, Charles, going a little deeper than we do. But with that, as we close things off, let's take our last break. We'll come back on the other side and get some thoughts in terms of some baseball rankings, did vote in the small and large, what we call mid-major and major division.
Got to get mine in.
Black college nines. So that should be coming out this week. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. We might get a chance to discuss that a little more on Thursday as we try to get back into it. But with that being said, let's take our last break. Come back on the other side.
Youngstown 33, Eastern Shore 20.
Tough. Good breakdown. We'll be right back.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
And we have to fund our kids in these colleges, and we have to make sure our kids have seats in these colleges.
Now, what about HBCUs? You mentioned.
Absolutely. You got to fund them all, and you've got to make sure they're properly funded. You know, the real reason why I went after Comcast and Charter, it didn't have anything to do with my cable networks. It didn't. What happened was a gentleman wanted to do the Black College Sports Network in partnership with the HBCUs. And Comcast did not accept it. And that would have made a lot of money for these black colleges.
Absolutely.
And it would have educated the Black College Sports Network. This is what he wanted to do. That would have educated a lot of black kids. And when they didn't do that, that's when I came off the bench and said, okay, I'm going to light you up like a Christmas tree. Okay? That was the real reason why I got into it, was when I saw what happened with the Black College Sports Network, which I don't own. I just knew.
Why did you buy it?
I just knew. I just knew that these black.
I like that talk.
Right? I knew that these black colleges were going to benefit, and these black kids were going to get the education that they deserved and not have to pay.
There's a shot. It might be. It could be. Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you guys for what you
do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do, and all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Movement.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
All right, which one am I bringing you up on, Doc?
We can do it like this.
Okay, wait a minute, which one?
As I told you, I was.
Wait a minute, hold up. Let me take. All right, unmute your other one, Doc.
How do you forget your charger to your laptop, man? That's just doing too much. And I looked at it, and I got like two of them. I have one I keep in the office, one I keep at home. I even got another one for another laptop, and somehow not any one of them, as we would say in our vernacular when we are chilling out, made it with me on my road trip. Now I got to see how I can make this work for Thursday. For sure. But we'll get this one in. Make it work as we do. In this last segment, though, I did want to get into a little bit of the records, if you would, in terms of what's going on with baseball. But let's start with you, Drew. Can you give us some updates in terms of the Division II level? What's going on with things on that side?
Looking at the SIAC. Look at the standings in the SIAC and go back to that page. Quickly going down, Spring Hill with a 14-4 conference record, first place. Albany State half game behind them, actually a full game behind them at 13-5. Morehouse a half game behind Albany State with the 12-5 record. Everwater sits in fourth place, 11-7. Miles in fifth place, 10-7. Benedict and Savannah State tied at 10-8. And right now, if the tournament was to start today, Lane would be the 8th team in with a 7-11 record. On the outside looking in, Tuskegee 6-11, Kentucky State 6-12, Clark Atlanta 5-12, and Lemoyne Owen. Excuse me, I said Clark Atlanta 5-12. Clark Atlanta is 5-15. And LeBourne Owen is 5-16.
Good stuff. It'll be fascinating to see what everybody thinks in terms of the baseball ranking, who gets into the rankings for what Black College 9 calls the small division, what we call the mid-major division. I did want to give love to some of the independents, particularly Norfolk State. They are 8-15 overall as they try to get it done over there. 5-4 in terms of the NEC, so they're holding their own at this point. Interesting to see if they can kind of make a run. You do have Coppin State, Maryland Eastern Shore, and Delaware State at the lower part of the divisions, all with tough losing streaks. Delaware State is on a 9-game losing streak. But Coppin State did win their last game. Maryland Eastern Shore has lost their last game. They sit, Coppin State and Maryland Shore sit at 3-6 in terms of what they're doing in the conference race. And I will not say Delaware State's record because it will not excite any one of us. I'm sorry. Was that not nice?
That was not nice. But you the dean, you can do that.
Okay. I'm just saying that's like that F squared. Hey, I'm like, you better work in this class. We kind of alluded to this as we open things up. You know, Bethune-Cookman sitting at the top. They've won a championship now. Looks like they're on their way to try to chase another regular season championship. I think it'll get interesting down the stretch. But then we have the outstanding play for the tournament, which is always exciting. As we switch it, though, you have those teams that jumped out that are playing really well. Texas Southern sits at 5-1. Grambling State at 5-1. All three of the teams have swept their competition in terms of what they did in conference play last weekend. Florida A&M had a big weekend. They're 4-2. in terms of what that looks like. And then you have Arkansas Pine Bluff also looking at 4-2. Alabama State needed to bounce back as they kind of got beat up last week in terms of them, but they've evened their record at 500. They won 2 straight, closing out things. As I told you, they opened it up on a Friday loss, bounced back with 2, including the rubber game on Sunday, which was so important. You have Southern, Alabama A&M just sitting at 2-4. With A&M had some good games earlier, but they've lost 6 straight in terms of what's going on in them. So that's a tough way to do things. You had Prairie View that's lost 3 straight as they had that midweek game they played already on Tuesday. They sit at 1-5 though in the conference race, along with Alcorn State at 1-5. Again, I won't talk about Mississippi Valley State in terms of their record because they will not excite anybody or grab your attention as well. So we won't punish them for that.
But they
have lost 6 straight.
Yeah.
Charles, where are you in terms of the standings for the SWAC so far early on?
Bethune-Cookman is doing as expected, 6-0 in conference play. They got the pitching. You know, when you start talking about some of their guys, especially Friday starters, if I'm not mistaken, but they just really play great baseball. But I think Texas Southern has been a little bit of a surprise for me, especially when you take a look at the turnover on the roster. But they really do have a good group of players that, like I said, they pound the baseball. Their 1 through 6 guys can really hit the baseball. I think they're leading the SWAC right now in hitting, batting .322. Bethune right there, but with regards to hitting as well. But as far as kind of a surprise, I think Arkansas Pine Bluff, they sit, in the middle of the pack, but they have some good pitching. They sit right behind Bethune-Cookman with regards to their pitching. But I think, Texas Southern and Grambling, that's going to be a good measuring stick of who's who this upcoming weekend as Grambling comes in here to Houston. And you're talking about those McGregor Park wins over there, and both teams, they can hit the ball over the fence. They can really pound the ball over the fence. So it should be fun. 3:15 down the lines over there at Nagel Field at McGregor Park.
I was just going to ask what a McGregor Park win is, because you threw that out there like everybody else knows what you're talking about.
It is the McGregor Park wins. You don't know from inning to inning what's going to happen because they could be swirling in the first, they could be blowing out in the second, they could be blowing back in the third, back out in the fourth, and it does that from inning to inning to inning. But you see, kind of like at Dyken Field, like you hit like you would one that you would think is just a pop up down the left field line, and all of a sudden it keeps carrying. And so you see that a lot, especially down the left field line out there at Nagel Field at McGregor Park.
Thanks for that clarification.
The other thing I'd like to talk about that I think will be interesting is just the scheduling. Remember, this is the second year where you have all of the teams playing a 10-game schedule. So you don't have what we used to do with the divisions, and you get both a home and away team with everybody in division. Now you just play your 3 games that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You do have some Friday, some Saturday double headers for some of the further trips in the conference. But early on, you have Bethune-Cookman that gets to play their first 3 games at home. Texas Southern is another one of those teams. And you see it has been in the favor of Alabama State as well. But you have some teams like Prairie View that they'll play their first 3 games, including the first 2 series, 3 series on the road. Charles, how do you think that will affect the back door of the standings in terms of how you close things up and how the schedule eventually over, which you get a couple of series at home?
Yeah, it should make it very, very interesting as you get towards the back half of the season when, like you said, Prairie View has spent quite a bit of time on the road over the first couple of weeks. But when you start getting some of those series back in front of your home fans, and then you get that last at bat, and we're talking about a conference where that last at bat can be so important, you could chase down a team in the final couple of innings, or when you take a look at especially some of the arms that you start seeing post 6th inning. You really get an opportunity to really sort of get yourself back in the game, and you can make that final push in the ninth inning. So to have that home field advantage, to have that final at bat, that could prove dangerous.
I think it certainly will be interesting to see what that looks like. I'm going to ask both of you all this question in terms of the games you'll see this weekend getting into conference play. I want to get your thoughts on this as things kick off this Friday. Going into it, this next series of games, I want to get your thoughts on what that looks like quickly here as I'm trying to do the double duty. Let me start with the Alabama State is at FAMU. You have Grambling at Texas Southern. And just like that, while I switched over, the battery went out on the laptop.
I got them right here, Doc, if you want me to keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
You said Grambling, Texas Southern. Alcorn travels to Pine Bluff.
Pine Bluff.
Yeah.
Alabama A&M. Where Alabama State Fam is a looks like it's a double. If I'm looking at the schedule right. No, they just got it on here twice. Okay, it's not a double. Alabama A&M travels to Valley. Prairie View travels to Southern. Jackson State travels to Bethune this week.
And it's swag baseball. Woo! I'm sorry if you're not. I mean, some are just baseball fans, but when you talk about swag baseball, it gets really interesting. With obviously now we're about halfway through the path with FAMU, as well as Bethune-Cookman joining the conference, literally the halfway mark, getting into the second half, 25-26 year. Both of them have won tournament championships. FAMU getting it done a couple of years ago, and then Bethune-Cookman this past year where they did the double-double, winning the regular season and doing that in fine fashion. The first time that the conference moved in a direction where you had no division champion, just an overall champion. What are your thoughts in terms of some of these matchups, 80 Drew? I'm going to start with you. What stands out to you, and then I'll go to you, Charles, to give me some more on that.
Wow. And I'm really debating on which of these series I like the best, because there's some real interesting matchups this week. So I'm not going to be a homer and take the Alabama State at FAMU series, because obviously that one's going to pique my interest. But I think for me, number 2 has to be Grambling, Texas Southern. That has to be up there as far as
both coming in 5-1 record
exactly
wise.
And that's why it is. I mean, you talking about two powerhouses in SWAC baseball. It's great that Texas Southern is back excelling in the baseball business. They've never left the baseball business. It's just business was down, and they was in they were kind of in a bear market there for a while. But now they're being bullish again this year. And
good call.
What can we say about Grambling? Grambling, maybe not the best regular season team, but Grambling is the one team that you want on the other side of the bracket when it comes to tournament time. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah. Championship level coach. They've gotten it done in the tournament, so you're absolutely right. Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of some of these key matchups?
I think obviously I think I'm going to be paying attention to, actually calling the game with Texas Southern Grambling, but Jackson State going on the road to Bethune-Cookman, and you have to just take a look at it from this standpoint of, Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, they have become the measuring stick when you start talking about playing baseball in this conference. Both now with SWAC championships. And I mean, there was a time where Jackson State had to get through Alabama State. You always paid attention to that weekend series, especially going to Montgomery. But now, oh my goodness. I mean, you really are paying attention to that 3-game set, and Jackson State comes in at 500 in conference play. You want to at least, make a dent in this Bethune-Cookman baseball team. This is a really good baseball team. Well, when you talk about from a pitching standpoint, we always point to Bethune-Cookman. They have the arms. And this season, again, they've shown once again with guys like Tanner Buccabello. They have a couple others now as well that are doing
spoil of riches.
Yeah, spoil of riches. They're doing a tremendous job. You know, Caleb Granger pitching in Florida A&M, another tough Friday start. So it's going to be very interesting watching to see what Alabama State. That's a measuring stick game series when they're on the road at Florida A&M. So watching what Jackson State and Alabama State do on the road against Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M respectively, and then over here in what was the Old West, Texas Southern and Grambling. Pitchers beware this weekend because these lineups, both of these teams, they can hit the baseball.
And let me ask this question, and this is something, and I don't know how this necessarily plays on the SWAC level because obviously I don't get to see a whole lot of SWAC baseball in person until later on in the season. But it's always interesting to me to see what happens on Friday when it comes to your pitching. Because when you get those competitive games on Friday, 2-1s, 3-2, 4-2 type ball games, it tends to set up for a good series between the two teams. But when you get that lopsided game on Friday, a 8-1, 9-2 type game, or heck, even a run rule game Friday, and then it's interesting to see what happens on Sunday. Because I'm always fascinated to see how does a manager play with it when they lose it on Friday. Are they trying to burn pitching, trying to stay in that game on Friday, or do they chalk Friday up?
Yeah.
And then we got these next two. We go ahead and get it, and I'm gonna save my pitching, and I may put a two-way in on Friday to go ahead and close this game out since this game has gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
And save my good arms for Saturday and Sunday and try to salvage the series and take 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many times where you get that 9-11 ball game on Friday and both teams burn through pitching. And man, I'm telling you, you don't want to be there on Sunday when that series goes because
when the two-way guy
you looking at baseball scores.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
football scores rather.
How many arms do you burn up on Friday? That's very interesting. But like I said, looking at Texas Southern over the past couple of weekends, they've gotten great starts on Friday, where pitcher at least went out five innings, and then middle relief, a little shaky, but they were able to get have enough offense and whatnot. So I'm really paying attention to that this upcoming Friday against Grambling. With regards to both of those teams, because they have two good arms going Friday. Everybody has that good frontline starter on Friday, and where does it pan out to from the rest of the weekend?
And last thing on pitching, you start looking at, can we get that 7 Bucko 5 as I call it, 7 innings, 105? Can we get that especially that Friday starter around those type numbers? That once again usually sets up for a good competitive series if we can get where you got that pitch about 105 pitches through 7 innings or more.
I'm also fascinating when you talk about the pitching, and sometimes I know coaches don't want to say it like this, but when a game gets away, how do you manage that such that you don't burn up pitches and you understand we just don't have it today? Similar to what you saw with Prairie View and Jackson State, 9-0. But they didn't wrestle enough to go deep in terms of the pitching arms of Jackson State, which allows Jackson State to come back on Saturday, and they find themselves in the dog fight, and they scratch it out. But then you get on the back end now on the Sunday, right, the rubber match, and you get the bats come out. Prairie View doesn't have the arms, and you still get away where you take 2 out of 3. And so it's interesting to see those chess matches as well. Before we close, I did want to give a little love to softball and at least give you the top of the standings as they still do the division alignment. In the East, you have Bethune-Cookman sitting at 6-3 in the third slot, if you would. At number 2 slot in terms of the East Division is Jackson State at 6-2. And you have FAMU sitting there in terms of the conference race at 7-2. Fascinating to see how these division races will go on. The West is similar to what we've used to over the years. You have Southern sitting at 5-4. Texas Southern solidly in second, unlike what you see how close it is in the East at 7-2, and you have Prairie View at 9-0 in terms of what they're getting done in the West. Obviously, when you do the East and West division, it gets to the tournament. You're fascinating. Prairie View figures that they've done a little more on the pitching side and found some hitters where they got some kids to transfer over that want to chase a chance at a championship, not just division, but overall. FAMU and Jackson State have seen the arms and always have the arms. So we're kind of already looking to see what it looks like in the tournament. Looks like the East may have a little fighting in terms of who does it division wise, but it looks like Prairie View is quickly trying to put the West to rest. That's what you see there. Any thoughts in terms of softball? It kind of seems like the usual, but AD Drew, then you, Charles, in terms of softball.
Softball pretty much seems to be status quo.
Yeah.
But unlike baseball, softball is a little different where you see teams coming in with 2-3 wins and all of a sudden beat the number one team for some reason. They get hot, they actually execute their butt plays and play a little bit of defense, and they may throw the ball up there, but they hitting the ball at people instead of hitting the ball solid.
Especially on those corners, you better stay wide awake. We talk about baseball, but softball is not faint for the heart.
No, it's
line
not.
drive.
And before we get out here, I'm gonna turn it over to Charles. I do want to quickly go over the HBCU AC baseball before we get out here. But go ahead, Charles, on softball.
Real quickly, I think you touched on it. I mean, softball is going according to chalk. I mean, Prairie View is doing what they're doing. Texas Southern has been kind of chasing Prairie View there for a few seasons now, and then over in the East, Florida A&M, Jackson State, right back in the thick of things. So.
Yeah, I'll give the last matchup, and then we'll do our official close in terms of what that looks like. This week, you have Pine Bluff at Grambling. You have Alabama State at Alabama A&M. The rivals play in that matchup. You have another rival matchup with Texas Southern at Prairie View. This is one game where either Texas Southern will close things up or Prairie View gets to split a little space in between 1 and 2 spots. Then you have the Florida series coming together with FAMU at Bethune-Cookman. Mississippi series with Mississippi Valley State and Jackson State. You have a little matchup there with Alcorn State and Southern to see what takes place there. So I'm fascinated to see what
give
that
me the
looks
Texas
like.
battle. That's the one I'm gonna be eyeing, the Texas battle.
Good call in terms of what we see there with that matchup as well. As we do that, let's bring it to a close. Let's see if I can bring this up here a little bit in terms of what that looks like officially. Getting it done. I am Dr. Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Again, I hope you enjoyed the show with myself, Charles Bishop, AD Drew. We thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday. I'll see if I can get me an extension cord. I might have to go with the iPad to give you a show on Thursday. We'll see if we can get that right. Forgive me, as I said, I'm traveling, having some fun. Last week, it was basketball. This week, getting into some basketball as well, doing the academic side of things before we figure out and show you some baseball love as well. We look forward to next Thursday. We'll give you the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. We'll continue to give you the business of HBCU sports. I know a lot of folks have an interest in terms of what Prairie View's done and what the ledger will look like them at the end of the year in terms of the football and basketball championships that plays dividends. We'll see if you can get some money there, but go check that out. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1, again, on Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big, continue to move forward, and we will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
AD Drew?
Lecture.
Dismiss.
Have a light, everybody.
Check out Langston tonight.
That's right. Turning it on now.